Okay, awesome. All right, let's begin. So we're only going to be on this call for about 30 minutes. We're going to do a live session every single day. I feel like that will better be able to help all of you guys, whether you are a free member or a VIP member. How we're going to break this down is that every Monday and Wednesday, we will hold one from 8 a.m. Eastern to 8:30 a.m. Eastern. That will be for all free members. So anyone, anywhere can join and view all the setups that we are going to talk about on these calls. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, those sessions will be exclusive to VIP members only. And those sessions will be held by none other than James Grant. He is our scalping trade expert, and he will be hopping on with you guys to do some scalping trades in New York session. He had a great week last week. I think he did over 20% return. However, it's very difficult to send setups to the group when you're trading on the 1 minute time frame. So to mitigate that, we are going to hop on live sessions with him Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and you'll be able to take advantage of that. So I'm only going to go over a few pairs since we only have a little less than 30 minutes. I'm going to first start off with CAD Chef.
Hey, Nate.
Yes.
Can you make sure, I think Scott said that he can see people's cameras. I don't know if you're in full screen share mode or what it is, but Scott, it might just be minimizing out of that. Because I don't see everyone's camera. So
are you able to see my screen? Is everyone able to see my screen here?
Yep.
Yes, okay.
all right, cool.
All right, cool. Just let me know if you guys can't hear me or can't see anything. I'll be happy to stop and try to fix that issue. So first start off with CAD Chef. CAD Chef was a beautiful trade from the past 2 weeks. We actually got in 2 weeks ago here. As explained, CAD Chef follows supply and demand zones very, very well. So we had a very nice, beautiful entry here. We fell all the way back to the downside, actually coming into our take profit 2 at 0.717, created a draw on liquidity to be taken later. What I mean by a draw on liquidity is areas of interest where price will be magnetized to in the future by the big banks and institutions, because that's who essentially drives the market. So then we had on Friday morning, we had a signal from 7287 perfectly back up into this level. I've been waiting on this level for a while. We finally got back up into it. And because of the whole, Russia-Ukraine situation, there have been massive gaps in the market. I'm sure you guys have seen those all across the dollar pairs, really across any pair, but mostly across the dollar pairs. So we had a little bit of a gap. It gapped right into our take profit 1. So I do expect price to come back up and fill this gap eventually. I'm not sure if it will immediately, but nonetheless, if you guys are in this, please be sure to put stops at break even. This could easily come back up and fill. But
hey,
just
Nate,
wanted to
can I
point that
chime
out.
in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I've talked about this on Smart Money Sundays a lot, guys, and I really hope you're watching these episodes that I put on YouTube every Sunday, because it's just free value and it's anticipation, right? It's not a hindsight video. It's what I expect to happen in the markets every week, right? So if you're not taking advantage of that, I highly recommend it. But what I want to point out is the fact that oftentimes you will see price close on a Friday at mitigation. Okay. And that somewhat happened last week on Euro GBP, but often you'll see this often where it'll close, especially I notice on the pound pairs, but here in particular on CAD Swiss, you notice it closes right at that level on a Friday, and then it just opens up and more than likely is going to, fall for the rest of the week. So that's just something to note. It's like, don't get scared if you're closing at a POI on a Friday, stick to your guns, stick to your analysis, and just let it play out. And obviously you can see what happened here on CAD Swiss, but go ahead, Nate. Just wanted to make that point.
Yep, that's absolutely true. Another point that I would like to point out is oftentimes what you'll see is when there's a gap in the market on Sunday, usually when you come up and fill that gap, you fill the gap and then you make a move back in the opposite direction. And Aiden will go over this on a pair here in a little bit. That's oftentimes what happens, is that when you come into a POI and you gap on Sunday, usually, when you push back to the downside, for instance, with CAD Chef, oftentimes what you'll see is a push back to the upside to fill in that gap, run a prior high, and then come back to the downside. This being the prior high right there. Just wanted to point that out too. So nonetheless, great setup, stop to a break even, looking to take out this liquidity here. And as you can see, I mean, the mitigation trend is incredible. Supply has been holding up very nicely. And I suspect 0.709 to be our next target overall, because we have higher time frame equal lows. So that is CAD Swiss franc. I'm going to try to go over all of these questions you guys have. If you have any questions throughout the call, please feel free to drop it in. I'll be happy to answer them. All right, next one I'm going to go over is EUR/GBP. EUR/GBP, I'm really liking for buys here. The reason why is because we're starting to accumulate in price. So this has become an accumulation schematic. We actually had our spring and our BOS after the liquidity run from last week. We can see clearly the equal lows that were taken, sell to buy, very strong impulsive move, followed by the very volatile move back to the upside, leaving the imbalance. We haven't come back down into our demand level here to mitigate our orders until yesterday, or excuse me, until last week. So we had a low that was run, and then the break of structure that occurred following. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for just an overall pullback to continue for that second drive back to the upside. So the accumulation, I believe, is over, and we're looking to push back to the upside. So I'm gonna go back down to a lower time frame and show you two possible entries in which I'm looking for. One being this level here. So this level, really, there's no rhyme or reason behind this level here, 8333. This is really just an area where liquidity has been built up. I'm looking for that liquidity to be taken. It's also about the 50% of this last buy move here. So just looking to get into the market around these regions. Now, I'm going to be very careful about trading this because there is no clear demand zone here or sell to buy candle that I'm going to be playing off of. So I'm going to be looking for lower time frame confirmations before getting into this trade. However, there is another potential intraday setup here that just formed this morning. So we had this ascending liquidity, okay? Ascending liquidity, price took that 2 in the morning. So prime London session time, we broke structure back to the upside. So if we go down to a lower time frame, this is just a potential setup that could play out. I'm not going to be taking it a buy from this level using a buy limit. I'm going to be waiting for confirmation because price is still, it's not really telling me where it wants to go yet. So we took liquidity at 2 in the morning. So London session time, we broke to the upside, clearing structure. So now I'm looking for these lows to be run. These lows can be run with a nice sell to buy coming into this demand and pushing back to the upside, breaking counter trend structure. I will be looking for a pullback for a intraday continuation to the upside. But if we do break this level, which I wouldn't be surprised if we did, I am looking for more of a pushback down into these discounted levels of price to then take this long. So looking at 8333 obviously stops below the low. It is a high probability setup because we came into demand from the prior week that swept liquidity, breaking structure, and then we had an accumulation schematic that sprung, and now we're looking for that test to go long. So looking at EG for potential long opportunities, I will keep you guys updated with that. But that's on a broad level, guys, that's really what we're looking for. That's, I would say, probably I would say 90% of our strategy on a very broad level. Obviously, we have lower time frame confirmations and tiny little tricks that we look at. But really what we're looking for is areas of liquidity that have been run, price looking to come back into that level to mitigate orders, having lower time frame confirmations, similar to what I just went over, to then be taking an entry. But obviously trading within the market structure as well. The last one I want to go over is USD Swiss franc. USD Swiss franc, I think, will provide a really nice buy opportunity this week. So I'm going to first start off by zooming out here. I know it's going to be a little blurry. I know we're on a higher time frame, but I really want the overall target here is 9.4. 9.4 is a psychological level for this pair, and it is a clear supply zone that I'll be talking about soon. So I do suspect the dollar to continue to the upside this week. I do want dollar strength. And that's just clearly seen within the dollar index as well. We did form equal lows on the 30th of December. So this was last year, 2021. We did come into a lower time frame demand zone. Okay, that lower time frame demand zone reacted very nicely, had a push to the upside, came back into that demand zone to react from that. We tested that level and then broke structure back to the upside. So that happened in January, coming into February. So we had that break of structure after the liquidity was run. And then we had a small demand zone on a lower time frame that we came into perfectly. So that in and of itself could have provided a very nice risk to reward. And even if you didn't take it from that level, just the fact that you took liquidity coming into demand, having a reaction from that, and then you pulling back into the demand could have resulted in another trade to take long. So what really confirms it for me is the fact that we broke counter trend structure here. So we had that BOS, and we have that target that we're looking at, 9.4. I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. It is so important to understand your targets, just as it's important to understand your entries. If you don't have a target in place but have your entry, your trade can be messed up very easily. You may have a great entry, but if you don't know where you're going, that's half the battle right there. So what we did do is we came back down into demand. Okay, so this was our level of demand that needed to be met prior to another extension leg to the upside. So we created liquidity, and we see this all the time. I break this down, or Aiden breaks this down in Smart Money Sundays. I break this down in my Smart Money Concepts series on YouTube, which feel free to check out. It's completely free. We oftentimes build liquidity prior to coming into supply and demand levels. In this case, we're looking at long, so demand levels here. We push back down into demand, taking that liquidity, and then we break counter trend structure back to the upside. And we can just see that within each demand level, we're coming into it very, very nicely. So I expect price to obviously come further down into 91922. That could be a very nice play here to take this descending liquidity. Obviously, this is a retail trend line. People are looking to sell at these levels, which will be run eventually because retail simply doesn't work. So looking to take this long for a nice 1 to 8, back up to 9.4. If we do get a break of this level, then I'm looking to take it from 91450. The reason why is because if we just zoom out a little bit, this is our overall demand level. This is the demand that created this higher high. Okay, so we had that high here, the run on liquidity, and then the higher high. So really, this is what I call the last point of return, the LPOR in this sequence. So we have a mini downtrend here, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. We could easily have a lower low to take out this low here and potentially this low here from about 2 weeks ago, but still maintaining the bullish structure within this overall move to the upside. So that's why I have two potential areas of interest here. One being just the intermediary demand zone, which could easily be met. So if you're looking to take this, half risk would be definitely viable for this trade. And then just in case we do take this low and this low here to have one last spike before going long, which has happened before, I'm looking to take one from 91450, which is essentially just this last hourly sell to buy candle coming further into the demand level before going long. Because oftentimes what we'll see, and I see this a lot, is once a demand level is hit, we come into it almost to the T, we react from it, we have one last push down deeper into it, and then we make the move. I think it's just building liquidity around that zone. Let me just add these people in. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. Just building liquidity around this area of demand within market structure to then take this long again. So one of those two levels I think will be met. If not the first, then the second one, I think will provide a nice long opportunity this week for USD SHAB. So those are my pairs. I'm going to have Aiden go over his next. He has some great setups for you guys too.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. Didn't realize I was muted. All right, guys. So I'm not going to go over euro and pound and UCAD because obviously I went over those in Smart Money Sundays. If you watched the Smart Money Sundays episode, drop a 1 in the chat. I want to see how many people are actually watching these episodes. There we go. Loyalty. Love to see it. Every single week, guys. I can't stress it enough. Love to see it. All right. So you know what we're expecting here on euro, on pound, on UCAD. I'll just flip through them quickly just to kind of show you. Obviously, we're expecting that run down on UCAD into our 2-hour time frame. Nice looking candle here that I really wanted a while back, but price just didn't want to deliver down into this candle here. All right, and so obviously we made the run on the buy side last week. I'm expecting a run now, kind of this ascending trend line to be taken out, and for price to trade down into this region. Now you can scale into the 2-hour candle here and look 15-minute and under and find a nice precise POI. I'm not going to do it on the call, but just advising you to do so. But this is my broader POI here, 2-hour. Really like to see us run a strong run to the downside, running the sell side liquidity, and then a strong move, strong rally to finish the week. That's what I would like to see on UCAD. So that's probably my favored setup of the week. Now for today, I kind of want to get into, hold on, let me add some people. NZD USD. Now, if you were on the last live session, you know we were talking about digging into our weekly candle, right? Our up close candle, which we obviously have here, this very strong doji supply candle. All right. So we obviously traded into that through this high last week. And I would like to see further downside, right? We are within a downtrend. I think this is going to be ultimately taken out, and we have our downside objective that we've spoken about numerous times on Smart Money Sundays as well. But we're still within a downtrend. Obviously, counter trend, yes, we are still somewhat making higher highs and higher lows until last week when we traded through the old high, broke this structure. Okay, so what I want to see is a run on this high. I love when we engineer liquidity prior to mitigation. Okay, so I want to see a run on this high. Obviously, this is our buy to sell. Okay, so I want to see us dig into this region, be a nice premium for us to get short, go ahead and target these old lows. Okay, so that's in U. And the other one I want to talk about today is going to be UJ. Okay, very simple. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's not going to, require extensive breakdown here, but as you can see, we're in higher high, higher low. We have relative equal highs here, 4-hour daily time frame. Okay, so I think this is going to be our draw on liquidity. Obviously, we have our counter trend. Okay, lower lows, lower highs, lower low, lower high, lower low, break a structure. Okay, so we can pull back into discount, back below opening price for the week. We trade back into discount. I'm thinking 114.8, nice institutional level. We can look for accumulation to go ahead and take this thing long. Would fall in line with dollar strength, which is our bias. Okay, it's our continued bias until we reach those higher time frame levels that we've been talking about for weeks. Okay, so very, very simple setup on UJ. You all can see it. It's very self-explanatory. Mark off these levels on your chart. 114.8 is really what I'd like to see. And again, we have relative equal highs here that we can target at 116.40. All right. So I think that's really all I wanted to cover. Obviously, we have the EU and the GU that we talked about on Smart Money Sundays. I guess I can just quickly run through it. But, as we talked about 2 weeks ago on Smart Money Sundays, I told you it was going to die. We're going to run the low and trade right into our weekly old gap in price, right? You can go back and watch those episodes, okay? And so obviously we had that significant sell-off last week. You've got the craziness in Russia and Ukraine. And that was only the catalyst to do exactly what we expected it to do. Okay. Does it mean this is going to be a low in the market? No. I still want us to dig down weekly time frame and somewhat refill this wick at 1.1. Okay, that's the ultimate downside objective. And we did gap yesterday pretty significantly on EU. Okay, and so personally, I'm still looking for sells. We are somewhat now in an expanded range. Obviously, you can see tight range, expand. Okay, equal highs, run, low, run. Okay, so we're making multiple touches on either side. And so if we do get a retracement, I will look at this level on the 8-hour time frame as an initial point of interest. I'm not going to set a limit here. Obviously, we're within our range. I'd really like this to get up into premium, even excuse me, even potentially run this old high, trade into this low, and then get a nice final short down into our 1.1. Okay, so just something to note on EU, we're somewhat range bound, higher time frame at the moment, and I would look to be sellers above old highs and buyers below old lows. All right, so that's really it for me today. Jimmy, is there anything that you wanted to go over or cover this morning? I don't know if we covered what you wanted to, but
yeah, I can go in and talk about some of the levels that I'm looking for.
awesome. All right. You need me to give you the host? Let's see. I think that's you.
All right, give me just a second. Okay.
Feel free to drop any questions you guys have. We'll be happy to answer them. I can talk in the chat while he's breaking down some charts.
Okay, so go over some levels here. Let me get rid of this. That is for VIP, not VIP. Okay, so I'm just going to go over some levels that I'm kind of looking at for today. There's really not a whole lot, to be honest with you guys. The gaps that we had were absolutely insane. So it's just, they created some really odd market conditions where it's just kind of directionless, to be honest with you. It's very tricky to like pick up on where prices actually. Can you please mute your mic? All right, never mind, we're good. So it created some tricky market conditions because you just can't really pick up on where it's going to go after you have a huge gap. And it's like Aiden said, caused by the Russia and Ukraine conflict. So besides that, we filled it on NZD JPY. We have not filled it on Euro USD. We have not filled it on futures, and Euro AD didn't gap, but just heading into the trading session today, I'm not going to go over my analysis in too much detail, but basically what I'm looking at here is we have this low that we should take out. So I expect this low to be taken out here. Now, if we do not take out this low before New York, or just honestly in general, and by New York in the equities trading session, I think that we're going to get a pullback up into here and then a short off, because what we did here is we ran out this high. So we ran out this high, and then we had this really strong push to the downside, and we haven't taken out this low. So this is going to be an area where we're going to be driven to for price. Now, from a structural perspective, we had a low, a high, a low, right? And then if we get a new leg to the downside, this would technically be our high that produced that low. So this would be the area of inefficiency that you would be looking at right here. However, this is the leg in price that actually caused the displacement lower. So if I am going to sell it, I'm not going to pull a fib from here to wherever price stops. Like if it stops right down here, I'm going to pull it from this leg to where price stops, because this is the leg that actually created the low, and this is the buy to sell that took out the liquidity resting here and all the liquidity resting here. So, and if I drop down to the 5-minute or 10-minute, try to find an area of imbalance. It's really all efficiently priced, to be honest with you. However, we do have this inefficiency resting right here. So that could be a really good area to size this up from, because it's the only spot that hasn't been mitigated, and it looks like it lines up with the fib level as well. So the 61, if we get the push down to this low, it'll line up right in there. So that could be really good. That's what I'm looking for on Euro AD. NZD JPY, honestly, I'm not looking at a whole lot. It just kind of started to melt. What we can see, or what we can look at, is we're going to have a really large imbalance move in here, right? So as you can see, this gap is just crazy. We have, it opened up all the way down here. That's like 100 pip, over 100 pip gap. It just filled the inefficiency here, and it also traded into this indecision candle right here. So it traded into this candle right there. So we traded into that, and now if we go to the 15-minute, you can see what we ended up doing is we had a high, a low, and then a failed higher high. So this low failed to produce a new higher high. So this here is a little break of structure, right? And now we're just starting to make our push down. So we could see potentially price is going to be very sensitive right here, because this is gap down. Here's the candle that just shot all the way up, and then this is a sell and buy back up. So we could be looking to size this trade up, taking it into here, and also note that that built some of the inefficiency resting from this candle to this candle here, and it will likely be closed on the 2 hour. So on the 2 hour, there's an efficiency. On the 3 hour, there's probably an inefficiency gap right here. Yep, right there. So this is an efficiency that needs to get filled. You can see it traded into this candle, so you can refine it. That's something we do, it's refining our zones. This is the refined candle that we traded into right here. And now we're just making our push down. So this could be a good trade. I'm not going to go over parameters, but just look at what we're doing. We broke structure. We have a leg to the downside coming into the New York session like that. So that's what I'm going to be looking for on NZD JPY. EU, I'm not really seeing anything. It's just really ugly. It's hard to pick up on. Gold, also not a whole lot. Only thing that I'm kind of seeing is this is an impulsive leg in price, and then other than that, nothing. Well, so there goes Euro AD. So now what we can look for is a retracement back to the upside. Double check. Okay. So we can look for a retracement to the upside now into here. As you guys can see, now that we made that lower low, look at what's lining up right here. So that's really all I'm looking at for today. There's not a whole lot. The gaps are crazy right now. It's actually funny. Last night, I had a trade open on Euro USD that I wanted to hit it break even. And just because it was a swing position and I just wanted to get out. I didn't like how price was developing. So it actually gapped my take profit by like 60 pips, went in my favor. And that was, I've never had anything like that happen before. So it's pretty crazy right now, but that's all I have. I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything else, Nate or Aiden, but I'm not seeing a whole lot.
No, that's all we have for today, guys. If you're good to go, feel free to hop off. But if you guys have any questions answered, we'll be happy to sit down for a few minutes and answer those.
Thanks, boys.
Pretty slow and
No problem.
uneventful this far, guys, but should pick up throughout the week.
See, any last minute questions? Not, we can hop off from here. We had a question about CADJ. Hey, Peter, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Send me a message on Telegram or Discord. I'd be happy to send you a markup. I haven't really done analysis on CADJ yet, but I can send you something after the call.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much. I will send the recording out for those of you who want to view it later. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you all your VIP members. We'll see you guys on tomorrow's call. So have a great trading day. We'll talk later.
Thanks, guys.